Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm a coach and a channel, and welcome back to my series called Spirit School. This is a series where I invite forward the spirit guides to teach us something new. I basically leave it open for them every single week to come forward and to channel something through me that I never had the frame of reference for, I don't know much about, or something that I would find deeply interesting or exciting just to spark my curiosity, just because I love learning. And I find that their perspective and their uh, way of opening up my awareness to something new or a new way of looking at things is always a really beautiful experience. And I just wanted to share that with all of you and to continue to foster that within myself as well. So the way this works is I tune in and I allow them to start sharing with me, and it tends to start with some sort of an image, and the image tends to be some sort of a way of explaining the experience or the metaphor or the analogy or whatever concept it is that they're looking to share with us today. And I I sometimes I come in with something on my mind that I would like to learn more about, and sometimes I just leave it open to them. And today is one of those days. So I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to tune in, and we'll see what they want to share with us today. Give me a second. Okay, they're showing me the human body, and they're showing me like the way that the blood and air flows throughout our system. They're just kind of showing me all of the different blood vessels and arrows, just showing the blood kind of moving its way through the body and kind of making a point to to focus on the circulation, the circulatory system of the body, and how air and blood and oxygen flows through the body with intention behind it. Okay, and the intention is to spark life and intention and need for existence itself inside of every cell in the body. They're saying that our need to persevere, to keep going, to show up, to get up every single day and show up and to strive and to push and to ignite our motivations comes from the very nature of the life cycle of our cells themselves. They run through a much shorter lifespan than we do as an organism, but they have this same um, makeup in that they are born, they experience a motivation and a desire to what? To be. And then when their life cycle has been fulfilled, then they give way to new life. And it's this constant kind of cycling of birth, existence, and death that makes up every single cell in our body. And that same sequence of events is taking place on every single level of anatomical um, building block, from the cell to the organ to the system to the life and like the identity that we fulfill inside of our system. Each one on both a micro level and macro level have that same life cycle. And it's driven by the nature of the reality that we inhabit. And the nature of the reality that we inhabit is determined by what? By us, by those who inhabit it. And so it's kind of like they're saying, is it the chicken or the egg? Do we experience this life cycle and therefore set the intention for our cells to undergo that same cycle? Or do our cells undergo that same cycle and with every building block, that cycle takes place and therefore we are also experiencing it as a byproduct? And they're saying it's this symbiotic relationship between every mechanism of our reality that fulfills this same cyclical nature, or energetic circulation, um, that that fulfills, our need to experience it. And the reason why they wanted to demonstrate this today is because a lot of us question, a lot of us question our desire to. And therefore, we are creating fissures or restriction or resistance inside of that life cycle because the cells themselves, our cells, never question their desire to have this experience. They just always desire it. Even they're saying like even cells that are not multiplying in a normal fashion, if they're multiplying in a way that is a detriment to our health and well-being, they still have that desire to multiply, exist, and then die off and then give way for new cells to do the same. So they're still existing inside of that same paradigm. It's just kind of taking on a different form than a healthy cell. But when we as people consciously begin to question that cycle within ourselves, question our need, desire, motivation to continue to move forward, it- that creates hesitancy in ourselves to do the same. We are kind of disrupting that signal and presenting a different one. And this is when we begin to experience, a different energy inside of it that creates a different experience as a byproduct. When we experience resistance, and that can look in many different ways, that can look like many different things. Resistance inside of our physical body. So aches, pains, injuries, illness, disease, that is physically uncomfortable, creating physical discomfort, or when we experience, um, life experiences that are frustrating, overwhelming, exhausting, and require a lot of effort to overcome. And it feels like we're just pushing against a brick wall and not, it's like immovable. That is all being created from our desire to withstand our life cycle without without the need or full need or intention to undergo it through the sheer desire to experience it itself. We are beginning to question if we want the experience to begin with. And because we're questioning it, we're creating resistance inside of it. And then we begin to experience that resistance because we are setting the intention to. When you no longer want to experience birth, existence, death, birth, existence, death in like a natural, cyclical, intentional way, then you're going to experience it in a way that feels that is representative of the discomfort inside of it. And you are essentially giving permission to the very nature of your existence to have that experience because you're wanting to. You're questioning whether you want it one way, and therefore you're creating a reality where you can experience it through that question. Um, you're having resistance and pushback um, and questioning the desire to have that experience, and therefore, because you're questioning it, because you're feeling resistance around it, you are energetically creating the nature of that and experiencing it as a byproduct. And so all they wanted to teach us today is how we set the intention for the experience that we have. And it all comes down to what we want. If we don't want to experience the natural life cycle as it is predetermined within the confines of this physical existence, then we will begin to create a reality where we get to experience it in a way that we've designed for ourselves. And that can look many different ways other than natural, cyclical, intentional birth, existence, death. And what they want to highlight inside of this lesson today is how you become the creator of your reality despite recognizing the reality that you are creating. And a lot of the times we push back against the nature of what we're experiencing and the unfairness that we perceive inside of it. But there's nothing about life that is fair or unfair other than what you are believing to be true. So if you're experiencing something and you're saying it's not fair that I'm having this experience, they want you to begin to recognize what exactly about it are you defining as unfair? And how can you see that it is that experience that you are recognizing as unfair and choosing to experience in order to better understand the unfairness of it? Like you are creating a reality where you get to live and relive that unfairness because you are trying to understand why you're being forced to. And in order to understand why you're being forced to, you have to experience it over and over and over again so that you can begin to understand it. And there is a great deal of problematic, is that true? Problematic? It's a great deal of opportunity inside of seeing your world and your reality through this light because you can begin observing it in a way that allows you to change it, to shift your experience of it and to create a new one. And all that's required is your willingness to see your own feelings and where those feelings are being lived, relived, experienced in a way that you can predictably live it. And if you and although it feels a lot of the time that it's completely outside of your control how things uh, come to be, how things unfold, they really want you to begin to question that too. Because you've been taught that. You've been taught that there's a lot that's outside of your control and that a lot of the things that take place around you have zero control over. And so you just kind of have to be a victim of it. And they really want you to begin to isolate that belief system and ask yourself, how can I witness where this is creating the reality that I am being forced to endure? And what inside of that reality am I choosing to undergo in order to witness that belief system at play over and over and over again? Because on some level, you're buying into it and therefore wanting to um, reinforce it. And so the takeaway here, the key here inside of this lesson today is beginning to observe your reality, observe it unfolding before you and around you, observing how you're choosing to experience it, undergo it, and like fulfill it, and asking yourself, how can I begin to take ownership of my decisions, of my thoughts and belief systems, and of my approach inside of my life and myself and my reality, and choose to feel differently inside of who I am, access an empowered way of showing up. Where is my power? So if we're feeling powerless, what do I actually have power over? And begin to claim that, to recognize it, to claim it, to begin to spark that energy and belief of empowerment and watch the domino effect take place. Because once you begin identifying all the areas in your life where you actually do have power, you begin to feel a shift in power. You begin to feel more empowered. You begin to show up differently, make different choices from that empowered place, and everything unfolds differently as a byproduct. But it has to come from you. You have to be willing to make the decision to claim a life cycle that fulfills that desired intention first. And everything will unfold and unravel to meet you where you are. Um, what else? Your cells fulfill the desire that you are laying out for them. And they are simply there to reflect back to you what's being felt and desired and needed from within. And if you are willing and ready to take ownership and leadership and dictate to them and through you what's wanted, what's needed, and what's ultimately felt, then they will begin to reflect back how to do that energetically. And you just have to make a conscious effort to consistently show up in that way, to consistently ask yourself, what are my options here? Like truly, not just in action, but in thought and intention and belief system and felt feelings and choosing the experience that you want to have or recognizing where you're not yet willing to choose something different or less restricting. And inside of recognizing what choice you're making, that in and of itself is a more empowered way of showing up. Is As long as you're recognizing that you are making the choice, you're in the driver's seat. Even if the choice is a less empowered um, idea of your reality than one that you could choose instead, at least you're recognizing that you're making that choice in the first place, rather than having that choice thrust upon you. And that is all that's needed to set the ball in motion and to shift the power from outside to inside and from feeling less than less than worthy or capable into feeling um, greater than the circumstances that you have allowed to dictate your sense of self. Any last words that you like to leave them with? The other saying, the truth will set you free. And it's up to you to allow that truth to rise to the surface and to choose one that sets the ball in motion for an existence and a life cycle that best aligns with the innermost need to thrive rather than just survive, live, survive, and then die. Really, really beautiful message. Um, I would love to hear from you about this. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Feel free to comment below. Feel free to message me privately on social media at Amanda Lauren Blau on Instagram and on TikTok. And please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to this channel if you'd like to watch more of these. And on that note, if you're wanting a little bit more guidance on the how for this kind of thing, feel free to reach out to me about what one-on-one coaching could look like for you, even if you're not ready to get started yet. Just having a conversation about what that could look like or asking me questions about how I work with clients, because this is exactly what I do. I help you understand the reality that you're experiencing, like why it's unfolding that way, how you might be, without realizing it, choosing to experience this from an unconscious place and understanding how to shift that experience from the inside out. And it all comes down to first creating awareness of not only the situation itself, but of your need to experience it, and then moving through the different phases of adaptation with that, which is um, surrender and compassion, and then taking aligned action to set the course in a new direction. So feel free to reach out to me about that. You can find all the information about how I work with clients on my website, amandalaurenblau.com. And I will see you next week in next week's episode of Spirit School. Have a great week. Bye.